What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you guys right here. We have a lot to discuss with you today, as this snowstorm that is going to be impacting not just the deep south, but mid-Atlantic and even a little bit of the Midwest as well, has only continued to escalate in the models. And conditions only continue to get better and better for very significant snow, and the models only look worse and worse for those that are going to be impacted. Things are getting really hairy over the next few days, so we're going to go ahead and talk about what may be going on and dive right into these conditions and break them down for you. So starting off, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into this. We have the GFS pulled up for you. We're going to show you this, the GEM GDPS, and the European as well. We're not quite at the range where we can use the NAM just yet. It is Tuesday, but the system does start developing Thursday or Friday, so other than the initialization, the NAM doesn't go that far out just yet. So that's why I'm holding off on not showing the NAM until tomorrow. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the GFS. We're going to go ahead and show you just how the system is going to develop, what impacts are going to happen, and where this system ultimately is going to go, because we've seen the models just only continue to ramp it up more and more and more. The European now wants widespread snow from the Rocky Mountains all the way to the East Coast, including the Midwest, just to throw that out there. We'll show you that in just a second, but by and large, we have quite a bit to discuss. So let's go ahead and get started. So here's the GFS for you guys right here. So the situation we have right here is we have a kind of a unique setup with this system right here. We have a very big high-pressure system over Canada that is expected to move into parts of the Midwest around Thursday and Friday, at least in the Great Plains. And then you have a low-pressure system that's expected to develop on the lee of the Colorado Rocky Mountains around Thursday night going into Friday. So this combination, this strange combination of weather events that we have is going to be very intriguing, because normally when you have a system develop on the Rocky Mountains, it typically moves through the Midwest. The South maybe gets a severe weather outbreak, and then the snow mainly stays in the Midwest, particularly along the I-70 corridor. This is not what's going to be happening. Instead, you have this high-pressure system really starting to ramp up and really starting to move into parts of the U.S. Look at this, 1051 millibars right here. This is only a stronger high in each run right here. That's only going to drive the system and concentrate it further to the south right here. And then here's what we got for you right here. You have this low-pressure system starting to get its act together around Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, around Friday morning. And then as we get into Friday afternoon, you're starting to see a lot more snowfall starting to develop in the Texas Panhandle, across Oklahoma, Arkansas, and freezing rain is going to be a big problem going on across much of the Deep South. I was actually talking to David Schlotthauer about this last night. We're looking, at least according to a few runs, for some very catastrophic freezing rain. Potentially up to 2 inches of ice is possible with this, and we'll show you that in just a second. But oh my goodness, things are really starting to ramp up right here. This is by Friday night going into Saturday morning. This is 6 a.m. on Saturday Central Time. Right here, snow from Texas all the way to North Carolina. This is how big and expansive the system's going to be. And another thing that we need to mention too is this is going to be tapping into that Gulf moisture over there, and that's really going to ramp up the intensity of this and really bring a lot more precipitable water into this. And now we move on to Saturday afternoon. This is when the jugular starts to go on right here. It seems that we're going to be seeing a pretty big jackpot scenario, not just for the Carolinas, but also for a lot of for the Mid-Atlantic as well, particularly in Virginia, West Virginia, particularly Maryland, Delaware, Washington, D.C. You guys could really see a lot of snowfall with this. And even if you're in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York City, by the way, I know there were some people commenting about it on my Instagram and commenting about it on YouTube. You guys actually are in the path for some snow this time around. How much snow will you get? We'll show you that in a second. But as time continues to go on, as we go into Saturday night, into Sunday morning, the impacts shift from Texas and the Deep South towards the Mid-Atlantic, and things really start to ramp up for you guys over there. And then the system starts to leave Sunday afternoon and exit out to sea right there. But freezing rain still remains across much of the deep south region right here, especially Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. This is going to be a very catastrophic setup right here. And what's driving this freezing rain potential is you have a pretty significant inversion that's going to be pulling up right here. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and go to central Georgia and show you what exactly we are looking at. As the sounding continues to load, it's going to take a second. There it is right here. So here's what we got for you. So this blue line right here is 0 degrees Celsius. That is your freezing line. This is where your temperature is. It's about 30 degrees, but further up in the atmosphere, you're looking at this temperature above that freezing line. So basically what happens is snow starts falling. As it gets to around 700 millibars, it starts to move into those warmer temperatures above freezing, and that transitions from snow to rain. But then as you get to about 950 or so millibars, that rain starts to freeze over because the temperature drops, and that hence turns into freezing rain. It kind of freezes on contact with the surface because of just how small the raindrop is and just kind of the physics behind that as well. So I wanted to go ahead and emphasize this real quickly, and we'll go ahead and show you this as we go into these model runs and as we show you the impacts. But by and large, things really start are really ramping up with the models. But what isn't ramping up is the system. On Monday, it's expected to start weakening and move out of the United States by Monday afternoon, generally producing a lot of rain for parts of Florida. And the reason it's pushing like this, normally you see a system like this shift to the east. The reason you're seeing this get pushed further and further to the south is because of this pretty significant high pressure system over here that's going to be replacing that snow accumulation for a lot of these regions. You're going to see this Arctic blast move through and just push that rain slowly down the Gulf region. That's why you're starting to see that very slow windup instead of a very quick one for the deep south. And it's because that high pressure system's kind of blocking it from going anywhere but further to the southeast. And that's just going to bring Arctic temperatures to a lot of the United States right there. So this is what we got by January 26th, and things are winding down. And that's what we got for you for the GFS. GEM GDPS is a bit different. It's a bit further up to the north. We'll go ahead and show you that very quickly. But here's the GEM GDPS starting on Friday, having a lot of it as rain for parts and then freezing rain for parts of Texas and Oklahoma, but mainly keeping the heavy snow further up to the north, which I do think is interesting. That's a big deviation from both the European and the GFS, mind you, but it still brings very significant impacts to the Mid-Atlantic and into New York, into New England as well. I just wanted to go ahead and emphasize that because there is some difference in the models, but I am leaning more towards the European and GFS scenarios than GEM GDPS. The GEM GDPS always had a cold bias and always has a northern bias to it, and that's the main problems I have with these runs, but that's kind of what we got going on for you right here. And the NAM, just for craps and giggles, just to see what's going on with that, the NAM is starting to show that. This is kind of your initialization period for Texas, Colorado, Kansas, and Oklahoma right here, leaning towards the GFS in terms of what the scenario is going to play out as, having it starting to develop on the lee of the Colorado Rockies, in lieu of this high pressure system over here that's going to be entering the United States, and that's what's mainly going to keep it to the south. The GEM GDPS actually has a stronger high pressure system, but mainly staying further up to the north than what it normally does. But ultimately, the European GFS and the NAM are forecasting this to move a bit faster, and that's kind of where I'm leaning towards with my where I would say things are going to go. So that's what we have for you right here. Let's go ahead and show you snow accumulations. This is the European, just for context right here. European doesn't really have the precipitation type on COD. We talked about this yesterday. It does on tropical tidbits, but I'll pull that up as needed. But here's what we have for the European snow totals, starting in parts of Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and especially Texas right here, and then really moving into parts of Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina as well, and then going into the DMV region, potentially bringing a lot of snow to a lot of people. Look at this. Now, I do think it's really overestimating the amount of snow that the Midwest is going to see. I don't think St. Louis, Indianapolis, and all of Ohio is going to see up to 10 inches of snow. I think it's going to stay further to the south of that, but it is very interesting to see how the European is panning this out. But look at this. This is a scenario where in parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas could see up to 18 inches of snow. And even in parts of Texas as well, according to the European, could see up to 12 to 18 inches of snow in a few isolated areas. Dallas, Fort Worth. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this real quickly. Like Dallas County, I believe is right here. That's potentially a foot of snow. You have Collin. You have Collin County. You have Denton County. That's Tarrant County right there. Anywhere from 10 to 12 inches of snow are possible. So that's your situation that we got right here. And take a look at this. We're gonna go ahead and zoom into the Mid-Atlantic for you guys. This is a very rare scenario because not only is this just calling for a hell of a lot of snow for pretty much all the 4 big cities: Boston, New York, Philadelphia, D.C. You could call Baltimore a big city, so 5 of them. But it's calling for at least a foot of snow for all of these cities right here. The last time we saw something like this was, I believe, in 2016 with that big snowstorm over there. And on top of that, according to the European, you could see up to 20 inches of snow for parts of Virginia and North Carolina, especially along the Appalachians. Now, I know I said in yesterday's video that I do think it's a little unrealistic. Based on what I'm seeing with the GFS as well, kind of leaning into that scenario that the European is forecasting as well, and we'll show you that in just a second, it seems a little less unlikely now than it did 24 hours ago. And just to show you how rapidly this has escalated over the last 24 hours. This is the 0Z from yesterday, mainly concentrated in Tennessee, North Carolina, West Virginia, and those areas, while seeing a little bit of snow in parts of New York, New Jersey, and New England. Here's what we have 24 hours now. Look at how quickly this has escalated for a lot of regions. The entire state of Pennsylvania is now forecasted to see a foot of snow. Now, granted, some of that is lake effect, especially around Erie County, Pennsylvania, but by and large, things really have escalated there. Now, is the European overdoing it a little bit? In some regions, absolutely, especially in Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. But is it overdoing it maybe in the Mid-Atlantic? Not quite, in my opinion, because this is what the GFS is going for right here. Yes, it's not as aggressive as the European, but still, looking at potentially 6+ inches of snow from New York all the way down to the Carolinas. And look at this. We're going to go ahead and zoom out of this. You're seeing, once again, you're looking at up to at least a foot of snow for parts of Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arkansas. Tennessee is going to be getting hammered by this as well. There's a lot of our viewers that are from the Tennessee region right here. Eastern Tennessee, though, is what seems is going to get the jackpot according to the GFS, especially in those Appalachian regions right there. But my goodness. Look at this swath right here. Nashville could see up to a foot of snow. Memphis could see up to 10 inches of snow. And then let's go ahead and go to Knoxville real quickly. What's Knoxville potentially going to be seeing? Knoxville could potentially see up to 15 inches of snow, especially on the higher peaks. Right there. And on top of that, that continues into North Carolina and Virginia. The North Carolina region, at least according to the GFS, it's matching what the European is going for in Winston-Salem and Greensboro, and even in parts of Raleigh-Durham as well, potentially up to a foot of snow. 12 to 18 inches are possible for some of these regions over here. And then Virginia, D.C. could see 10 inches of snow. Philly could see 8 inches of snow. Baltimore, 10 inches of snow. New York City, 4 to 6 inches of snow are possible over there. So things have only really escalated. And just to show you what the GFS was like yesterday, let's go ahead and go to the 0Z yesterday. Mainly concentrated in the Carolinas and Virginia. Here's what the European was at that point. It was a lot more aggressive and a lot further to the north. Well, let's go ahead and show you what that looks like today. Here's what we got. Boom. A bit further to the north and a lot more aggressive, kind of leaning into what that European scenario is forecasting for. It's kind of more aligning with that forecast right there. So that's a very serious situation we're going to want to pay attention to. And another thing we need to watch out for is the freezing rain. I was talking to David last night about it. He was talking to me about it. We saw the European 0Z forecasting potentially 2 to 4 inches of ice across the deep south. I have it pulled up right here. Here's what we got. This is the 0Z for you guys right here. Take a look at this. This is for Arkansas, Louisiana, and all the way to Georgia. Look at the Atlanta metro area. 2 to 3 inches of ice, according to the European, are possible in this region. That is a massive metro area, and if that were to happen, it would cause catastrophic impacts for pretty much anywhere that gets 3 inches of ice. Right here. Now, do I think we're going to see anything more than 2 inches of ice? It seems a bit unrealistic. However, based on how the trends have been the last 24 hours, I would not rule that out for 2 reasons. Number one, you're seeing an insane amount of Gulf moisture that's going to be pushed into the snow system. And especially in the areas that go into my second point, where there's an inversion, it's going to just persist there for a while. It's not going to be a scenario where it just stays for a few hours and then moves on. No, this is going to be a potentially freezing rain for a couple of days across a lot of the Deep South. And that's something that we need to consider right here, because this isn't going to be like a very fast-moving system. It's going to be moving kind of slowly across much of the United States. It's going to be moving slowly across Texas, Tennessee, the Deep South, the Mid-Atlantic, and that's what's going to generate those ridiculous snowfall amounts, and that's what's going to generate these ridiculous ice accumulations. Personally, based on what I'm seeing, the GFS, I would also want to point out, is a bit more on the conservative side, but still, up to 2 inches of ice are possible across a lot of this region. The Atlanta metro gets hammered regardless of where you're at. And even if these forecasts don't quite materialize, if you just get 1 inch of ice, that's going to cause hell across the South. Because one, there's like you can drive in snow first, but you can't drive in ice. Snow has some friction to it because there's air in between the two of them. Ice has absolutely no friction. So if you try to drive on ice, you're going to be sliding all over the place until you get into an accident. So if you're tuning in from the Deep South, it's best that you do not travel this weekend unless it is an emergency situation. And even then, you have to be extraordinarily careful with that. With the amount of ice that's being forecasted at this point, we're going to need to take this very seriously. And on top of that, you're looking at extreme cold that's going to be following this as well. Let's go ahead and pull this up. What's this polar plunge going to be like moving forward? So here's what we got. You have a pretty big blast moving through parts of the Midwest. This is your high pressure system moving through starting Friday morning, bringing really cold temperatures and just diving down into much of the South. By Saturday morning, take a look at this. You're looking at your high pressure system in parts of the Midwest right here, bringing temperatures in the negatives across a lot of Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, all the way through the New England, and through encompassing at least 50 million people right here are going to be in negative temperatures on Saturday morning. And then as we continue to move through right here, as this high pressure system moves further to the south right here, by Sunday morning, everywhere across the Deep South right here really gets in that freezing line right here. That freezing line extends as far south as Texas over here, as far south as the Houston area, as a matter of fact, with temperatures, really cold temperatures, mind you, starting Monday morning, ramping up with temperatures in the negatives as far south as the Red River region in Oklahoma and Texas right there. So you're going to want to pay attention to that right there. And then Tuesday morning, it shifts a bit further to the east. But look at this. This is where kind of the bulk of the cold is going to be, pretty much freezing all the way to the Gulf Coast right here, all the way as far south as Gainesville in Florida, maybe a little bit further to the south than that. But this is your scenario you're seeing. If you're going to be waking up in the next week or so across a lot of this region, it's going to be extraordinarily cold, and it's going to be extraordinarily snowy for a lot of the Deep South. So if you're in the eastern two-thirds of the United States, you're going to see one or two things potentially. You're either going to see hellish cold or a ton of snow in regions that do not get that much snow. Or you're going to see a combination of the two if you're in the Deep South, because you're going to be in this polar plunge, and that snow is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. But I'm also not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, because I'm going to continue to keep you updated on this all right here, and we're going to continue to keep you updated on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But with that being said, we are going to go ahead and close this video out right here. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. The goal, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. Also, follow me on Instagram. The link to that will be in the description down below. I post reels on there. If you'd like to help out, hang out, or ask us some questions, feel free to join the Storms United Discord server. The link to that will be in the end screen and in the description. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.